You rarely see them. They don't sell smartphones, cars, or luxury handbags. And yet, in Switzerland, their name ranks among the country's very top fortunes. In the 2025 ranking published by Balance, the Safra family is credited with an estimated wealth of 24 billion Swiss francs. That number alone raises a question. How can a dynasty reach this level of power while remaining almost invisible? Because the Safra brand isn't a mass market brand. It's a constellation. Banks, wealth structures, real assets, and discrete operations. A private empire that has learned to do what every major fortune tries to do: protect, survive crises, and grow stronger over time. In this video, we're not just telling the story of a bank. We're telling the story of a culture, of a family shaped by one obsession: trust. Not marketing trust. The kind of trust that is tested when the world shakes, during crises, wars, inflation, currency breaks, or financial shocks. And if this fortune seems to appear out of nowhere, it's because its main engine is not visible. The ability to be in the right place at the right time, within the right legal framework, and to stay, generation after generation, on the side of prudence. To understand Safra, you have to go back to a world where banking wasn't a screen, but a service essential to commercial survival. According to the group's official history, the family's banking legacy begins in Aleppo, with the founding of the first family banking house in 1841. At the time, Aleppo was a crossroads, a city on the trade routes between East and Europe. In that geography, money wasn't just currency, it was a promise. Converting, financing, securing payments, supporting transactions, protecting merchants. This was already the foundation of the Safra craft. That origin explains a constant: the priority given to reputation and risk. Before regulation, before audits, before supervisors, banking depended on an even more fragile asset: a name. Be reliable, be prudent, never break the chain of trust. The dynasty is born not from modern speculation, but from an older know-how: foreign exchange, merchant credit, and the financing of trade. It is banking in motion, adapted to an unstable world and designed to last. And it becomes the family's mental blueprint. When you learn banking through real commerce, you develop a protective reflex. Growth matters, but survival matters even more. At that stage, Safra is not an empire. It's DNA. The 20th century accelerates geopolitics, and with it, the shifting of economic centers. For many merchant families from the Levant, continuity requires adaptation, changing place without changing profession. In the Safra story, this isn't just a geographic move. It's a strategy of wealth preservation. Trade routes change, political regimes transform, currencies sometimes collapse. And in that world, private banking reinvents itself as a promise to preserve capital and confidentiality. The family succeeds in structuring its business in new environments while keeping one guiding thread: finance, protect, and expand carefully. The key word is prudence. Prudence becomes a competitive advantage. What separates a banking dynasty from a simple company is time. A dynasty thinks in decades. It doesn't need to make a quick win. It needs to endure, to transmit, and to remain credible. And when you think in generations, you avoid risks that may look rational in the short term, but destructive in the long term. That philosophy sets the stage for the central figure of the modern dynasty, Joseph Safra. Joseph Safra becomes the figure who crystallizes the Safra name's contemporary power. At his death, Reuters described him as Brazil's richest man, and for many years, the world's richest banker, leading a banking empire stretching from Brazil to Switzerland. Why is this detail so central? Because it places Safra not in fashionable finance, but in structural finance. A banking empire spanning continents is not built on a single product. It is built on a method: attracting and retaining wealthy clients, developing a private banking model, and resisting macroeconomic cycles. In this logic, the bank becomes a trust machine, a machine built to absorb volatility, a machine that makes prudence profitable. And this is where the paradox becomes clear. Discretion isn't a communication weakness, it's an economic asset. In private banking, too much light can be expensive. Reputation is protected like a balance sheet. So the Safra story is that of a banker who transformed an old culture into a modern empire, without noise, without chasing celebrity, with one obsession: to endure. Brazil is not an easy environment. Inflation, instability, political cycles. Surviving and growing there requires rare discipline. Joseph Safra built a banking and investment empire in Brazil with international reach. In an economy where cycles can be brutal, private banking becomes a refuge. And that refuge, paradoxically, can become a growth engine. The stronger the uncertainty, the higher the demand for protection. This is where the fortune begins to take shape, not as wealth made overnight, but as patient accumulation. A loyal client base, recurring revenues, conservative risk management, and the ability to remain solid when others weaken. In the Safra universe, strength is measured by continuity, by the ability to deliver a premium service without being destabilized by the noise of the world. It's a bank that looks like a fortress, yet a profitable fortress. For a banking dynasty, New York is more than a city. It's a test, a confrontation with demanding standards of compliance, reputation, and extreme competition. Joseph Safra's empire served wealthy clients from Sao Paulo to New York and beyond, and the group extended all the way to Switzerland. The logic is simple. When you gain credibility on the world's biggest financial stages, you become more attractive to international clients. And in private banking, those clients aren't buying maximum returns. They're buying a promise: security, access, discretion, and continuity. That U.S. presence adds to the group's value: geographic diversification, access to assets, and the ability to position itself as a truly global player. In the global imagination, Switzerland symbolizes private banking. For Safra, it becomes a center of gravity. And for Switzerland, the Safra family becomes one of the wealthiest dynasties. In 2025, Balance ranks the Safra family's wealth at around 24 billion Swiss francs, placing them near the top of the list, with a location associated with Geneva. In this context, a strategic pivot takes on its full significance: the acquisition of Bank Sarasin and the creation of the entity known today as J. Safra Sarasin. Here's the key point. In Switzerland, you're not only buying a bank, you're buying legitimacy, a client base, a tradition, the ability to serve international fortunes in a highly demanding framework. November 2011. Reuters reports that Rabobank agreed to sell its majority stake in the Swiss private bank Sarasin to Safra for 1.04 billion Swiss francs. This wasn't a symbolic acquisition. It was consolidation, a purchase of capacity, expertise, and brand, and a signal to the market. Safra wanted a Swiss platform at scale. For a banking dynasty, this kind of deal follows a clear logic: increase critical mass in wealth management, broaden the offering, consolidate the European footprint, and strengthen global credibility. This moment is decisive because it changes perception. Safra is no longer only a Brazilian empire with extensions. It becomes a global banking group with a strong Swiss core. Major banking fortunes never remain 100% financial. They seek tangible, iconic assets designed to hold value. In 2014, Joseph Safra bought the London skyscraper at 30 St. Mary Axe, known as the Gherkin, for a reported price above £700 million. The Gherkin is an iconic 180-meter commercial skyscraper in London's financial district, opened in 2004. With its distinctive aerodynamic, tapered shape, it is considered a pioneer of sustainable, high-tech architecture. In a wealth story, this type of asset plays several roles: diversification beyond banking, a signal of power, an anchor in a global capital, and protection against certain monetary risks. The Gherkin becomes a symbol. Safra is not just a bank. It is global, diversified, and structured wealth. The Safra strategy goes beyond banking. It also moves into the real economy. In 2014, Chiquita accepted a takeover by Grupo Cutrale and Safra Group, in a deal announced at $682 million. SEC filings confirm a cash-structured transaction with a price of $14.50 per share and an announced valuation of around $1.3 billion, depending on the deal communication. Why does this banana detour matter? Because it illustrates dynasty logic, investing in real value chains, balancing financial risks, and capturing cash flows less correlated with markets. It's not the most glamorous story, and that's precisely why it's revealing. Safra wealth is often written where the public isn't looking. At this point, we can define the model. Safra operates a form of infrastructure, trust infrastructure, serving wealthy clients. Private banking rests on simple mechanics: recurring revenue, long-term relationships, high switching costs, and value measured through stability. It's an industry where inertia is strength, where you win less through advertising than through track record, where trust becomes a moat stronger than a patent. Joseph Safra's death in December 2020 reminded the world of the empire's scale and his status as a major figure in global banking. For a dynasty, the patriarch's death is an absolute test. Because private banking doesn't sell a product, it sells continuity. And in clients' minds, continuity must outlive individuals. At that moment, the empire has to prove it stands not on a personality, but on an organization, processes, teams, and governance. The implicit question becomes, is Safra a man or a system? The answer doesn't appear in a month. It appears over years. An empire that wants to last must evolve. In 2024, the Swiss bank Safra Sarasin strengthened its services for ultra-wealthy clients by assembling a team dedicated to deal-making. Why does it matter? Because it signals a shift. Private banking no longer wants only to manage wealth. It also wants to support the major transactions that shape that wealth. This is an upgrade in positioning. More services, more sophistication, closer involvement in capital decisions of the ultra-rich. And in a world of intense competition, offering that kind of support becomes a lever for retention and client acquisition. In March 2025, Safra Sarasin agreed to acquire 70% of Saxo Bank for around 1.1 billion euros, valuing Saxo at roughly 1.6 billion euros, while CEO Kim Fournet keeps his stake. The strategic dimension is clear. Safra is buying not only an institution, but a trading technology platform, while allowing the entities to operate with a degree of autonomy. The private bank of the future must master technology, not to replace human relationships, but to scale services, accelerate execution, and broaden the offering. It's also a response to a changing world: digital clients, new behaviors, and competition from technology-driven players. Here, the dynasty is not looking backward. It is investing in a building block of the future. Let's return to the Safra family fortune, estimated at around 24 billion Swiss francs in 2025. The figure is a reasonable approximation, a snapshot taken at a specific moment. That estimate already tells us something. Safra is a multi-decade construction, diversified, international, and structured around Swiss private banking, one of the industries with the highest barriers to entry. Safra's future will be shaped by 4 forces. 1. Regulation. Private banking operates in an environment where compliance requirements are rising everywhere. Discretion remains a service, but it is more tightly framed. 2. Technology. The Saxo Bank acquisition is a strong signal. Integrating digital capabilities becomes a competitiveness driver. 3. Competition. Ultra-wealthy clients have more choices, more platforms, more tools. To remain indispensable, you need a complete offering and flawless execution. 4. Reputation. In private banking, reputation is the first line of defense. Even a small shock to trust can cost more than any single balance sheet line. The final question becomes almost philosophical. Can you remain a dynasty of the shadows in the age of digital transparency? Safra has one advantage. Its history is already a history of adaptation. In the end, the Safra family fortune is not an accident. It is the result of a simple formula repeated across generations: trust-based finance, prudence, diversification, and discipline. The Safra family's global stature and the scale of an international banking empire now meets a new era, where a Swiss private bank is strengthening for the ultra-wealthy and investing in technology. Numbers fluctuate, methodologies vary, but what matters remains stable. The wealth infrastructure is there. And in the world ahead, more regulated, more digital, more competitive, invisible empires will have to prove one thing: that they can remain solid while they change. Because in the end, true wealth isn't about being rich. It's about staying rich. If you enjoyed this video into the Safra family history, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. It helps the channel more than you think. And tell me in the comments, which billionaire or Swiss fortune should we cover next?